welcome back to the studio for week 4 of the LEC. As you see on stage, a beautiful Star Guardian team getting ready ahead of Game 4. We will talk about G2 later, of course. They look amazing.
They're committed. That's what I respect. Carlos was doing it this morning as well. Like, I always knew that whenever Roman would join a team, the staff would just, they wouldn't be the same. You know, there would be a dramatic change.
I mean,
and they're not.
When did
I'm
we
a little
expect
disappointed
G2 to be normal?
That's true, but I'm a little disappointed that they had matching outfits. Like, the Star Guardians aren't all the same.
I thought you were going to say they would have body paint to match Soraka's skin tone as well.
They could have done that. That would have been great.
They could have gone the extra mile.
I hope Roman didn't hear you, because we know that's something he could do, obviously. But moving backwards, let's talk about the game we just had. An upset, I want to say.
Yes.
Misfits versus Fnatic. We knew it was a possibility for the team, but I didn't think they would actually pull it through. Let's talk about the draft first, because Trouble, you're going to be happy. We saw the Moo. Another second pick you predicted.
I'm so happy
but
we saw
we also saw the first Shyvana since 2015, Vedi.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
And I think that these drafts were super creative. And, like, obviously a lot of people were really excited about the Shyvana. People thought that it'd be a really big deal. I think it made 0 sense. It was a really bad pick. But I think that when we look at Fnatic's comp, the first thing that kind of stands out to me is range, right? You have Azir, you have Caitlyn, you have Morgana. These are champions that are really good at controlling space, especially if they get onto an objective first. You have Caitlyn traps, you have Morgana bindings. It's so difficult to walk into this team, and especially when you have a short-range comp that Misfits had, I feel like that replacing the Shyvana for something else that complemented that, I think would have made more sense. But I think that their logic in the draft was, well, they believe Shyvana is good into Gnar. So this is something that Wonder's confident in. I think that he played the matchup very well, and I don't think that he was necessarily bad during the game. I just think that there could have been better options that make more sense in the context of the comp that they went for.
I think both the top laners right here play with Rage Bus, and they need to manage this very well to get into a team fight. I agree that Shyvana doesn't look to be fitting that well the role with all the range and the Caitlyn and the Morgana, but I feel like when she does go into Dragon Form and she throws these big fireballs with the Q, she can actually zone more people away, right, and be this boulder for her team. If I jump onto the other side for Misfits, I'm so happy to see a Mumu even when the Morgana got picked into it, because in the LCK, how you will see him being used is the fact that he doesn't care if he's going to get the Q on Morgana or the Shyvana. Whoever he touches first, that person gets engaged and taken out of the fight, because the double bandage toss into the ultimate, which zones away the enemy team from engaging onto you, isolates that target. And when you have Wukong, Akali, Aphelios with the right items, you can actually 100% to zero the Shyvana real quickly.
And I think that when you look at Misfits comp, you're totally right, Trouble, in that it's very clear they're making a team fight comp, right? And their whole goal is to dive in and get the fight. And the way I saw this was, okay, the team fights are going to boil down to, can Fnatic leverage their range to stop this engage from coming through, or will Misfits be able to find a way to get into the fights? The biggest concern and the worry for Misfits is this early game, because you have a pushing mid lane, you have a pushing bot lane in favor of Fnatic, and you have a jungler who loves to leverage this prio to try and get early advantages. So I really felt like that the early game would go rapidly in the favor of Fnatic.
And this is where Misfits found opportunities, I feel, because it's in these early skirmishes that VTO got stronger, grabbing 2 kills with Akali. This is everything that they needed.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like the fact that Razok kept continuously getting caught off with Zlatan. You see this top side fight as well. Zlatan is first, the river catches off VTO. It's too far away from my short-sighted eyes to see that. Then VTO joins in, and unfortunately for Fnatic, they do not have any point-click CC to stop the Akali from snowballing this fight.
I think that the way in which Misfits responded and the way they kind of sacrificed waves in order to be able to collapse first in the fight, the fact that Mercer was always there was really important. And this was another Herald contest where we saw Misfits being primed and ready to go for the fight. And I like this early game proactiveness. The problem here was that their execution was slightly short. And losing this Herald, I thought would be a really big death sentence for Misfits, because we all know, we're very familiar with these Caitlyn Morgana lanes, that the moment that they get opened up on the map, they really start to snowball. And we saw that from Fnatic. They brought the Herald bot, Caitlyn Morgana gets unleashed, they go top lane, they make their way mid, and you're like, okay, it's the traditional Fnatic early game. They can't get engaged on. Things are looking great for them. But then Misfits do what Misfits do best, which is find fight after fight after fight. And all they needed was that one good fight to swing the game. And lo and behold, it resulted in a Baron.
They really did. And it was the over-aggression also from Fnatic that helped Misfits, I think, because Vedi, as you said, for the draft, it was hard to access the backline given the range that Fnatic had. But when you look at the fights and the way Misfits played them, they were able to find these opportunities.
We literally talked about this. Mersa finds Wonder off of 4. What does he do? He instantly engages on Wonder, stops him from engaging, then finds access to the backline. And I feel like, yes, it's really hard for Vedius to find an angle to get into the backline versus such long-range comps. But when you do bundle up in these very small, narrow points, which is the river or other choke points such as the ramps and stuff, Akali really thrives. Morgana Qs are hard to hit. Her ultimate is hard to hit because you can run out of range. Black Seal does F all at this point because this Akali got 2 kills very early on, and Shadow Flame, if anything, you put the Black Shield on, you activate Shadow Flame, somebody dies even faster.
And I think that with Fnatic's comp, a large part of the success of this comp relies on getting to the objective first. And when we jump into our final replay, which kind of like surmises how the game rounded out, it was a situation where Fnatic, while even being able to sneak away a Baron, you could see how hard the fights became to play when Misfits were in the driving seat when it came to actually engaging these fights. And look at Misfit, Vito, finding that very clean execute onto Upset. He doesn't really get a chance to react. The peel isn't able to come through, and he does his job by eliminating one of the core carries. And I loved this game a lot because I felt like both teams had very clear win conditions. They had deliberate ways in which they could actually come out on top, but the execution was just better from Misfits. And this is why we need to praise players like Mercer, like VTO for their individual performances, because they needed to step up in the fights and they were able to do just that.
And they did once again.
There's always an unsung hero, which is Neon on that Aphelios, because whilst these skirmishes were going on the top side of the map, whilst Misfits were trying to fight 4 versus 5, this guy stayed down bot lane, denied his team the 5 versus 5. He's like, I'm going to take the plates, I'm going to get fit, and I'm going to carry, and that he did. So I think it's very important when you put resources on a player that they're able to give things back, and I think we saw the damage meters right there, that Aphelios was popping off.
Bouncing back on what you were saying, VTO got the key player of the game, of course, super performance on Akali. I'm not even surprised on that, the fans chose him, but this is coming back to what we were saying at the beginning of the split. In week 3, we saw that Neon and VTO were enabled, and this is what helps Misfits, and this is also what carried them through the victory today.
It does feel like that this Misfits team is kind of relying on the comfort of what they found success with last split, which is this late game team fighting. And while I think that there are elements to indicate that their early game is getting a little bit better, there are still weaknesses that they need to shore up. The truth is the Misfits is a hyper unpredictable team, and we won't know what's going to happen. All I can say is we've seen 2 upsets out of our 3 games today, and we've still got 2 more to go. Laure.
I mean, they came into this week with a pretty hard schedule. Fnatic today, G2 tomorrow. We'll see if they can make it happen also versus G2. But looking ahead towards the next game between G2 and SK, Quickshot caught up with G2's coach Dylan Falco earlier after the disappointing week 3 from G2. Take it away, Quickshot.
Thank you very much. I'm joined by Dylan Falco ahead of his match against SK. Before we talk about today's game, let's talk a little bit about week 3, G0-2. Let's talk about the break week and bouncing back from the defeats.
Obviously, last week in LEC was not our best week. We went 0-2. We started the season really strong. We were in first place for the first couple of weeks. It was kind of unexpected, I think. Behind the scenes, I think our scrims have been very strong. Our team environment has been very strong. But we had 2 games where the early game just went completely horrible, and the games got extremely snowballed. I think that's not normal for us, and I don't think it'll be normal going forwards. And we took the break week to just take some time off, relax a bit. We scrimmed this week, and we're looking to now, I guess, get some wins.
I tell you something, there is an air of confidence and comfort that you're projecting that, Dylan, I can say has not always been there. What I will ask, though, is how confident and comfortable is G2 when you look at the entire field? The LEC this summer has been interesting, I think, when you look at how close the teams are, some of the surprise wins, and even coming in earlier today, some shock results as well.
I think there's like a lot more parity in the league with teams like Mad Lions and Excel in particular, just being a lot stronger. I think both teams have improved a lot, whether it was roster changes or the boot camp or whatever, coming into this split. So it just makes a lot more games where there's threat. So it's been very exciting to watch, and I hope we can also compete and do well.
Well, it definitely feels that way. One last question before we turn to your opponents, SK. Let's talk about the durability update. Let's talk about the summer meta adapting to, you know, this new change of play. Has it been as dramatic as it may have been reported? Now we're in a few weeks of competitive games.
I think that there's definitely been a slight shift towards a bit more of a scaling approach, a bit more of like sustained damage champions, hyper carries, stuff like this. I know at MSI, there was just, especially in the later stage of the tournament, there was just huge burst compositions with Lissandra and people getting one shot over the place. That being said, I still think a lot of the best teams in the world, even in Europe and in China and Korea, still are playing very fast and very aggressive. So I would say it's been a good shift, but it's not like a huge shift.
Well, definitely from my perspective, it's very entertaining and very fun. Now, your opponents today, SK, definitely the heavy favorites. This is G2. So what will need to go right today to ensure you don't have a third loss on your loss streak?
Obviously, at the start, we're just looking for a good draft. I think that even in our 0-2 week, the drafts were a bit questionable. So I think just something that's solid, replicable team comp that I know we can play and that I think we'll win with.
If there was one player that you had to say you want to make sure you shut down, you don't want to let pop off on SK, which player would it be?
Let's go Gilius. I worked with him for a long time before, and he can really be an X factor. So let's say that.
Dylan, thank you so much for a fantastic interview. Best of luck in the game.
Thank you.
Over to you, Costas.
Always great to hear from Dylan. Obviously, has led G2 to some pretty sizable results this year so far, winning Spring and then making it to MSI.
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good to win the league.
Not too bad.
9th time?
Went to semi-finals as well for MSI, which is of course still an achievement. We count that when we're not winning. We are participating in the semi-finals.
We'll take that one.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, we're straight into the draft.
Wow, that's a new change.
Yeah,
new pace.
It's excellent. G2 versus SK up next. SK still struggling at the bottom of the table. Let's see if they can win. Woo!
That took a different, yeah, I was going to say, that took a very different vibe, didn't it?
Have you listened to Star Guardian sessions, by the way?
Oh, no. I'm legally required to say yes.
Are we legally required to say yes?
No, we're not. I'm joking. I'm joking. No, I haven't listened to it.
Right, it's good.
Oh, okay, well, maybe I'd give it a listen.
Let's get into the draft though. G2 on the blue side, SK on the red. Kalista Yuumi bans, I heard some cheers for that. I saw a sign for it earlier as well. I love a sign that says ban Yuumi.
Yeah, I mean, next time bring one that says delete, and then maybe we're in even better terms. But yeah, coming forward, there's still, okay, looking at power picks open here. Corki still haven't been removed, taken off the table. Of course, that's something Sertuss in the past has looked for himself. Caps also likes to pick. We've seen G2 go for it as a first pick. So I actually wonder what they're debating for a long time right here.
Do we get rid of Seraphine?
No, it is going to be the Sarah Queen put on the bench here instead.
And immediately Gnar locked in for G2. This Gnar prio is something we've seen a lot in the break week over in LCK and LPL, and now it seems like it's made its way over to Europe as well. Will only be BrokenBlade's second game of the Gnar, but he's just so strong right now. Often we see Sylas and Azir heavily prioritized as well in the eastern regions, and there's the Sylas for Sertuss.
Okay, so blind pick is still very interesting to come through here, but it at least kind of stops some picks coming forward here because Sylas is very good into a lot of the control mages, at least in the early game. He starts E himself, moves forward, and this is something we saw today with LNG versus RNG as well. Tarzan multiple times on the Poppy shown that priority. So they instantly just blind picked that for Gilius as well. It's a lot of just blind picks coming through, not so much the traditional stuff we're looking for here, but Lucian Nami is going to be the bot lane for Flakked and Targamas, who actually got a decent bit to prove with this. If you don't remember before the break week, they got 2v2 killed as well in some of the matchup just on the second wave. So yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think that Lucian Nami is a lane-dominant lane, and you have to be dominant in your lane to make it work. That's kind of how that works.
Something lane, something dominant.
Yeah, exactly. I do think, though, picking the Lucian this early, if I'm SK, okay, I was going to say maybe you flex the Poppy to support, and you just say, well, what's Lucian going to do? Dash into my undashable zone? But instead, they decide to go for the Nautilus. Does give you point-and-click CC with the ultimate, and of course, if you right-click someone, they get rooted. Trundle now banned away by SK. They know that Jankos can take that into the jungle to deal with the Poppy, and with no AD carries yet picked up for SK, I wonder if G2 will try and close that pool down a little bit. Something like the Ezreal ban against Jezu would make a lot of sense. Of course, Jezu returning to the stage after being sick and Gadget having to replace him for a little while.
Yeah, I mean, I think this draft is so curious from SK as well because it's done in a fashion where on red side, you usually leave open a lot of counter picks. But this time around, though, the Gnar was already picked so early. You could have gone for any pick into the Gnar here from Genax. You can lock in the Ezreal, play up towards the top side if that's what you're looking for as well. And even from the side of G2, they're not banning a single top laner either, which means that BrokenBlade is quite confident on that pick, feeling like Genax, he can pick whatever he wants to. I'm not going to be scared of it.
I do think that Gnar blind just seems to be flavor of the month. It seems to just be like, this is the top laner we can pick blind in every situation. He has range, he is tanky, he can win 1v1 matchups, he can not lose too badly other 1v1 matchups. Like, guy's good.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll say that until it starts getting heavily punished. Whoa, okay. So, you know, I was saying that we might be playing up towards the top, so I don't think that's going to be the case any longer. They are definitely playing for that Draven with Jezu as well, and having that Poppy as a facilitator. Wouldn't be too surprised if we saw some unorthodox pathing coming out from Gilius just to get this Draven ahead. But yeah.
It's Jezu's first Draven game on the LEC stage. Like, he's never played Draven, as far as I can see, back in, you know, in the LEC. I'm just trying to have a look to see if he's played it in other regions before. But what a pick to bring out. Obviously, Draven, like, he is very strong. No, he hasn't got a single professional game on the Draven, as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit absurd when you look at it, to bring it out against G2, especially against an aggressive lane like the Lucian Nami. Azir and Volibear now locked in for G2. And SK looking towards their top side of the map.
So Volibear is interesting. If he's mirrored by the Poppy, Volibear's Q, you know, when he leaps up a little bit, comes down with the stun, it's actually counter. It actually counts as a dash.
Short range dash.
So yeah. Poppy's W can actually stop the Volibear Q from coming through, which of course is quite interesting. I don't expect this to come through.
Sylas top.
We have seen this before, or I saw this before rather, in the LFL actually,
yeah,
where it didn't really come into fruition. It was the exact same matchup, and Sylas just lost the laning phase completely, and because of that wasn't able to do much the entire game. But Sylas functions very well into Gnar when he hits level 6. The fact that he can take away the Gnar, can just move himself into the team fights with the Abductive Scun and find the Gnar ultimate himself really creates a lot of space for them. But it's about getting in there. There's some range to play around with. It's kind of meaty with the composition that SK have. They rely on throwing themselves on towards their opponent, because if they stay too long just posturing and watching, they're going to be taking damage from caps on the Azir. They're going to be taking a calling to the face from Flakked. If this lane gets ahead as well, that might be really dangerous to play for. I think SK Gaming, they have some sort of fail-safe in the Draven. If he's able to just, you know, safely stack up, find the adoration stack, that can kind of put the gold lead back into a good position. But I think that there's not a lot of room for mistakes on the side of SK.
They have been making a few mistakes so far in summer. We'll see if they can rectify things here. Sylas top being played twice in major regions. Once by Dudu for Hanwell Life versus T1. They won that game. It was into a Gnar. And once by Hoya for TT versus BLG. And they won that game, and that was into a Gnar as well. Expect to see Leandri's, maybe a Cosmic Drive, maybe a Zhonya's out of that top lane. Sylas. More bruisery than full burst, but it does do a lot of work. Let's see how it plays out in this game between G2 and SK. She says it best. Welcome to Summoner's Rift. Welcome to our fourth game of the day. And I think all eyes are going to be up towards, well, their problem is, my eyes are up towards Jankos because he's playing Sylas top into Gnar, but also bot lanes where it's likely to be most explosive.
Now, look at this. Gilius can move into the river, move up towards BrokenBlade, and try and find a pick on it. They counter with a flash from Treatz. Immediately, I love the aggression. BrokenBlade forced to allow lane without the flash himself. He's playing into a Poppy, which stops the jump, of course. So curious to see the pathing now coming up from Gilius. Expect some early ward, actually, from G2, just to stop Gilius from coming through with a level 2 gang, if that's what they're looking for.
And we'll see how G2 are able to play around the fact that BrokenBlade no longer has a flash. Do you want to do a quick stats check? Jankos has played how many Sylas top games in the LEC?
1.
Including this one?
Yes.
2, including this one. And his last time was in 2020, played against Vitality. What do you think his scoreline was?
It was 6, 2, and 5.
3-0-9. There was no way you could have known that. That was just me trying to expose information and using you as my puppet to do so.
Wow, I feel manipulated.
Well, you should.
And I speaking of things that should, I think Gilius in this game has to be very proactive on the Poppy. Like, even at times, just sacrificing camps, because quite often we see Poppy goes for a cheap build path, you know, towards that Kempa as well, just for the extra movement speed. And I think he needs to have an influence. Just moving into the mid game, yes, you're going to be annoying with that W, but you need to stabilize lanes. You need to get them ahead, actually, in some of the instances. I think BrokenBlade with no flash is a point of attack. And speaking of point of attack, Jankos, with the early vision they have secured themselves and a bot lane who's pushing in, is just going to be taking care of the blue side here from G2, and they don't know this medic.
Really smart stuff by Jankos to move in here. Knows he has bot lane prio as well, which means Flakked and Targamas can move up. Now Treatz will realize something's going on, guys. Oh, the Gromp's being taken. Okay, does that mean now Gilius needs to go in for a little bit of an invade over towards G2's blue side? And if that happens, we have a split map. And that's going to be tricky for Jezu and Treatz to navigate. Gilius actually coming across for the fight. A little surprised by this. I feel he could have just looked to steal away that blue. Now he's going to spot that Jankos has already taken his. Puts down the hammer, smites it away. Jankos still has a blast cone to get away here. Steadfast presence. Grounds him, but doesn't ground Gilius.
That's a little counterintuitive.
Hoisted on your own petard, Gilius.
Well, at least he showed the mechanic a little bit on blast cones there. That was a new one for me, so there you have it. But I think Gilius deciding to not match the split map scenario is actually going to lose him something in the long run here. He's most likely going to be losing the scuttle crap as well, with bot lane being able to move Sertuss being very low on the turret.
Jankos has the smite, so he's already been able to smite away the scuttle crab. Gilius, of course, used his smite on the wolves. Jankos trying to trade onto BrokenBlade. Jankos still has flash here, puts a lot of damage down on BrokenBlade, who tries the double jump. Jankos no longer has that abscond. Abduct used it for a bit of the damage in the trade, but you can see, especially having the flash advantage makes this lane so much easier for Sylas. Can consistently harass up towards that top side.
Good warps on caps here. They instantly spot Gilius, and with this BrokenBlade, he just decides, you know what, there's a big wave pushing into me. I'm just going to go for a recall. Can always just TP back up, and yeah, there you have it. Jenax realizing it as well, having 0 mana. It's going to be going back. Gilius, you can't really invade here. Your mid laner is half HP, your top laner just reset, and this can be very dire if G2 decides to respond to it.
And so counter TP has been used in the top lane. Janek's going to get back into the lane. In the mid lane, Sertuss is low, but he's trying to harass Caps down a little bit. Caps running the teleport flash, what we tend to see out of Azir's in professional play. You can run Ignite if you want a little bit more damage. Jankos no smite for 7 seconds. Gilius still has his, will smite the blue buff, and in the end, Jankos does come out on the winning side in terms of total camps, but Gilius was able to get a buff back for himself.
I think Jankos just expected him to give up that blue buff because he was like, well, Jankos is not in lane. He's probably just going to back out, and thus he went back to the wolves. So it's just finding a way to push out the wave. He's looking for a reset himself. Down towards the bot side. Wow, good hook!
Great hook on Targamas. Ignite ticking, counter exhaust being used as Jezu forced back a little bit. No mana on Flakked means that he's not able to trade too effectively, but he's able to keep himself underneath this tower, farms up those minions.
And also no flash on Targamas now. That's a very squishy Nami. She gets hit by another hook while Gilius is nearby. Sertuss moving down after he gets over 6.
Oh, Treatz. Was he spotted there? He's worked his way through the outside. Okay, he's fine. I wondered, because he delayed his recall to try and catch this wave. But if he'd been spotted, it would have been really dire for him, because he can just get chased down by the Nami, and the Lucian wasn't. And so now he'll try and put down that Titan's Wrath and catch this wave.
Yeah, he still has 2 pots to play around with as well. Gilius is on the bot side, while Jankos is responding, and they're not going to be looking for it. So great setup here for Jezu. He can just freeze this wave outside the turret. Gilius now with the information that the enemy bot lane has just backed is going to be starting up the Drake. And Jankos is really the only one around to stop this with Caps if they sniff it out. They have a blast cone, but it's not used on the Drake either.
Sky's Bloom just a little bit wide there. Sertuss comes damage onto Caps. Emperor survive, knocks it back. Perfect execution of the flash, but it's still down. Jankos trying to come in here. Sertuss still has a flash. Jankos dives forward. Dragon secured now for SK. Jankos only level 4 to level 6 of Sertuss, and SK on the board.
Sertuss just solo kill Caps.
That he did. That he did. We've been waiting for that one for a while.
I mean, it's a newer rookie coming in against an established mid laner.
It's true.
Where have I seen this narrative before? But they pick up the Infernal Drake for themselves. Sertuss find the solo kill in the mid lane too. G2 after an 0-2 week. Still with a little bit of signs of weakness here. And in SK, they're actually punishing. They've, you know, on a very big win, lose streak themselves. 0-6 currently, and they're looking to bounce back. And I think with Sertuss leading the charge, alone as an individual in the mid lane like that, it's a pretty good start.
Yeah, it really is. We'll have another look at that solo kill in the mid lane. Caps tries to put the Emperor's Divide down, but it's just not enough. Sertuss dashes in with first perfect execution, lands the Shuriken, has R2 to dash forward, and even though Caps flashes away, unless you flash out of vision, that auto attack is always going to go through, which means Sertuss gets the kill.
And I think that's just a little bit greedy actually, from Caps there. Unorthodox mistake from a very well-established mid laner, of course. Now, coming back to it, doesn't mean too much just yet, but it's something that you need to take into account that when Sertuss finally picks up the first item, when he gets that rocket belt, and when he's ahead of the curve, you're going to be struggling a little bit as a control mage. He's going to continue what we just saw.
It's just fisticuffs, man. It's just, you know.
Two
men in a bar landing punches, then both still standing.
You're that kind of person in a bar, huh?
No.
Okay.
It's not me. I'm at home with my lost dark rating.
You and me. I'm trying to climb in League. You're on a safer path, just raiding.
Trying to kill Vicus, man. Okay.
Gilius actually just went around the blast cone, so there's no way BrokenBlade actually know he's here. He just have to flash.
Uses it early. We'll have the leap as well, and we'll be able to dodge away from this one. But Gilius' BrokenBlade's flash is just going off on repeat, on cooldown. Gilius being relatively proactive, even though his scoreline is 0-0-0. Secured the first dragon down towards the bottom side. Now gets BrokenBlade's flash again. Could look towards this Rift Herald with Sertuss having the advantage in the mid lane now in terms of pure damage, but Jankos is looking to try and rectify that case. Shuriken lands, Cap goes in with the Emperor's Divide. Perfect execution available for Sertuss, where you're gonna go onto Caps once again. Stormbringer comes down, Gilius flashes forward, and Caps is locked up. Sertuss dodges and dives in onto Caps. Flash forward by Gilius, he's not close enough. Your Thunder Claws will give no pause. Another Shuriken, wait for the shield, wait for the shield. He goes in! Down goes the bear!
What is up with our Akalis today? First VTR, now Sertuss. Of all mid laners, shows up against G2. Treatz, no flash and Targamas.
Flash hook, Targamas, Aqua Prism short, exhaust cleansed away, and Jezu cashes in. Stacks on stacks on stacks for the Draven. He will fall in response, but that is well worth for SK.
SK Gaming coming back relaxed, feeling themselves after a break week. And I know they are one of the few teams that actually didn't take a break themselves, spent the entire time just scrimming.
Yep.
And I mean, so far it's looking to pay off.
You could say they're SK Gaming right now.
They are definitely SK Gaming right now on two fronts, Medic. Thank you for pointing that out. And now looking at said SK Gaming on the map as well. They're rotating out. You can see the bot lane moving into the mid lane. Can now move towards the Herald afterwards to set themselves up with the tempo.
And G2 had this struggle in week 3 as well. Their early games constantly falling behind. No first towers. 2,000 gold behind. His hook goes wide there from Treatz. SK really coming out flying. 2,000 gold ahead now at the 10-minute mark. Unleashing Treatz on the maps. Eclipse complete for Jezu. No summoners though for the SK bot lane. Makes it a little tricky for him. Genox burning his flash to get away from this. Does have the TP up in just a second's time, as will BrokenBlade. So if he does need to go back and buy up, he can.
Caps getting blue buff, crucial, at least in terms of having that mid lane priority, but have a look at the replay once again, because Sertuss holds the Shuriken for so long, doesn't get interrupted by the Jankos stun. I think this is where it gets dicey. Sertuss flashing away of the Stormbringer of Jankos. Then Jankos, he sees, well, I have flash. One auto attack is probably going to be enough. But he doesn't have the W on top of it. And because of that, he's not able to get the kill. Sertuss then, while he dashes in, is going to lay down the Shroud, so Jankos can't actually go in with an auto attack. So he tries to come back with it, find the stun. That's just not a possibility. And then towards the bottom lane, look at this. Treatz hits level 6 out of vision. We're not going to look at it. We're going to look at top.
Has no flash. Where are you going to go? Tries to get away, dodges with the hook. Just wide as well. BrokenBlade with a fancy feet. Still locked up underneath this tower. BrokenBlade walks out of it. SK couldn't find BrokenBlade in the top lane.
BrokenBlade breaking the angles off SK. Does have that teleport. So even though he's out of lane, he can now come back to this one, teleport to the turret. We'll still have the Gnar as well if he builds up the Mech Gnar bar.
Yeah, a few medial malleolar fractures to look after there for SK. They're going to try and splint it up with a Rift Herald, but G2 trying to react. Caps has the slide and glide if he wants to get in, still has the flash. Sertuss trying to put the damage down onto BrokenBlade. Mega Gnar on its way, but not there yet, as BrokenBlade is low. Tidal Wave just short. BrokenBlade down, Sertuss on a rampage now. And SK continue to advance 5 members strong. Flakked not here with G2. Jankos steals the eye with the smite. And will be able to keep SK from getting that neutral objective.
And actually, in terms of return of investment there, you can actually see that Flakked is down towards the bottom side. He's going to be picking up plates himself. If he picks up 2 plates, that's going to be equal gold of the amount that they, of course, picked up with the kill there on BrokenBlade. And at the same time, somebody needs to get the wave to pick up the farm. But yeah, good TP response coming through from Sertuss.
You could have taken that plate, lads.
Oh.
That's wasted gold there. All you need to do is order attack that tower once. Perhaps just looking for the tempo on the reset, get yourself back to the mid lane, and means that then Gen X can go up towards top side, or even go bot and allow Sertuss to reset. But a little bit of gold falls by the wayside there as SK unable to get that first plate towards the top side. Let's have another look at this Rift Herald fight.
And it's Sertuss individually looking as well. He finds a pick on towards BrokenBlade. BrokenBlade, little split from the rest of his team. They're down towards the right side. BrokenBlade running up towards the left and isolating himself, allowing Sertuss to look for the play. Then great round comes through from Gilius. All he has to do is press W, and the fight is just instantly won. How Jankos is allowed to do this? That's one of many questions. Either way, he manages to do it, and well, that could have been way worse for G2.
It really could, but it's still looking pretty darn bad for them, Guldborg. 2,000 gold in the hole. SK really found their form in the break week that we took, as you say. They didn't take one. They were just scrimming and practicing through the entire time. Second Dragon of the game now. That's a 23-minute soul. Only a Cloud Soul, but I will say, with things like a Poppy, a Cloud Soul can actually be really impactful. Your ability to get onto that backline can be helped quite a lot with the extra movement speed. And then Akali definitely helps.
And G2, they need to look for something soon as well, because their composition gets kind of hard to play when they fall behind as well. They have some team fighting tools, but not as many team fighting tools as you see on the side of SK. If they just continue with the gold lead and exponentially growing it on SK sides, moving forward to the third Drake, G2's not going to be in a good position to contest it. They're going to have to cross map. Then you get on towards the fourth Drake as well, and you just kind of have to take that shot where you need to move forward. So G2 need to look for plays soon, or at least just retain an even gold state of affairs here.
And you can see Sertuss leading the charge in terms of total gold, presented by Santander. Flakked, who was meant to get a big advantage down towards this bottom side, hasn't been able to find this. The Lucian Nami lane, once again, not as dominant in the laning phase as you expect it to be. Obviously, Draven Nautilus can match well. If you land a hook onto that Nami, we saw it a couple of times, she will just get burst down, but the cash in, the extra gold for Jezu has really bolstered the pockets books of the SK bottom lane.
Crown of the Shattered Queen coming out from Caps here as well on the Azir. Trying to give himself some extra defensives.
Well,
but at the same time, and I'm just saying, Akali does have a Shroud. She can proc it, go into the Shroud, and then wait for the damage. So I think it buys them a few extra seconds. It's really up to Caps to find out what you're going to be using those seconds for.
That's kind of the intent of Crown of the Shattered Queen, right? It's not going to stop you from dying, but it's going to slow that process of demise. And sometimes we see it picked into things like a Corki, and it's like, come on, mate, what are you doing? Or into an Ezreal, where it's so easy to proc. Here, a little bit tricky. As you say, the Shroud a possibility, but if Sertuss is close enough in a Shroud to land a 5-point strike, he's also close enough to be shuffled back into your team. And that Emperor's Divide can change the landscape of a team fight.
You bring a valid point, Medic. Duly noted. Now, taking a look at the map state right now, BrokenBlade all alone down here. Gilius waiting around. G2 is in a position to cross map on the top side, but they're currently taking blue buff, so BrokenBlade, I think that's just it, mate.
Any comminuted tip pips here as BrokenBlade locked up with the depth charge, knocked into the wall. BrokenBlade nard against his wall, and this time it's his back that is broken and not his opposition's ankles. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, G2 trying to find something as Lucian Nami continues to push in, but Sertuss doing a good job of matching that. In the mid lane, Jezu doing a good job of matching Caps.
Yeah, and like even just the fact that junglers are matching each other. Jankos now looking towards the mid lane. Gilius was hovering around the mid lane as well. And remember, back to even the draft, G2 put a lot of priority in towards this now. It was first picked, but an immediate response for Genax with the Sylas too. And so far, I'd say that it's working out for Genax. We were talking about, okay, how long are we going to be seeing this trend? Well, when stuff like this starts to come up, maybe not for too long.
I will say, Sylas, 2 games in major regions, top lane, into Gnar. What's his win rate?
Well, I saw it earlier, but let me just pretend I didn't. It's 100%.
It is 100% Guldborg. You're so smart, man.
I know. Thank you, Medic. Really. I mean, you're quite smart yourself as well.
Continuing on its way, perhaps to 100%. Everfrost the build here for Genax. Not the Leandri's Anguish that perhaps we thought would come out, but it does make sense. You're jumping in. You want to get that route. You want to get those slows onto your enemy players. And so now we'll see if he's able to really influence the fight. Because right now, SK all grouped up as 4.5 as Sertuss goes back towards that top lane. G2 playing 3 lanes right now. Treatz, the hook's going to land, and there's the tidal wave coming out as they try and turn it back onto Treatz. Genax with a flank, the Everfrost short. Treatz will go down, 1-for-1 so far. TP coming out as well. Genax has the Stormbringer. Caps has the soldiers to distract and dissuade SK from going any further. Gilius not in the best of shape, so BrokenBlade's on his way up here. Gilius There's the stun route that you were talking about, but he's still going to get locked up with the Aqua Prism, tries to turn it around. Keeper's verdict. The verdict is the Stormbringer still finds his mark. Caps takes the kill.
Great start from Jankos there. The only unfortunate part for G2 is that it's not early enough, or late enough rather, in terms of stopping the Drake from coming through. SK is still going to be in position where they can try and go for that. And on the top side, they are at least getting an objective for themselves. But for G2, in terms of stabilizing themselves a little bit, they do find their window spot. It all came from Treatz looking for an engage. And SK, they're relentless. They're aggressive. I like it.
I'm loving it. Treatz has a homing beacon on this anchor. Flash, hook. One of them's going to die. Gets the flash, gets the dash. Still bends it like Beckham around the corner, and Flakked has nowhere to go.
Yeah, it trades 1-for-1 in that instance, and I think, of course, kills does go over to Gilius being a little out of position here, because like even if you go down towards the bot side, BrokenBlade is going to be waiting for you there. So just the wrong positioning, doesn't cost his team too much, but it is an unnecessary death in the grand scheme of things.
That was a very Thor sort of entrance from Jankos as he came across, you know?
Was.
Bringing the thunder. Jankos going to try and start up this Rift Herald, but Genax is here. Has stolen away that Volibear ultimate, that Stormbringer. Gilius going to start up the third dragon of the game, and this will be taken. You can see G2 trying to prioritize getting the Rift Herald for themselves, but they can't do it. SK able to distract them from that, and Gilius able to distract a few moments of his own time with a dragon take. Third of the game for SK secured. Genax here. That ultimate has worn off, so G2 now can step forward and try and gain some control. They're also letting BrokenBlade get a bit of time with this bot lane tower.
Jankos forced the flash, and he did not have that Stormbringer, so if anything connected there, he would have been dead, and in turn, that would have been spelled Herald over to SK. Now, with the way they're posturing right now, it looks like G2 is favoring a fight too much. BrokenBlade still in the bottom lane, picking up a turret for himself, retaining some gold, and the rest of G2 in the mid lane, shoving in a wave.
And huge credit to SK. Like, we prepared this graphic thinking SK are great at taking first dragons, but not many more dragons or objectives on the map. You can see FH means first something. So FD is first dragon, FH is first herald. You can see they don't take that many first heralds. They do take quite a few of the heralds in their game, but most of the time it's the second. They take a lot of first dragons, but they don't take that many total dragons. Here, they lost the first herald to a smite fight, but they have controlled every other neutral in this game.
Yeah, to give context to this as well, quite often teams would go for that Herald instead, and SK would be able to pick up the first few Drakes, but then in the mid-game, they would never really be able to hold on to their lead.
Yeah.
And even getting a lead at times where SK had been difficult. So I think specifically for this game, you have to give extra credit to Sertuss. The fact that he found a solo kill really just exploded how SK could allow themselves to play on the map and what threat he suddenly became. Now having the Rift Herald, they can keep this for a while. They can look for a play in the mid lane here. They got loads of possibilities. You can even see Genax just pushed in the bot lane. He's going to be moving into the mid lane now, creating extra pressure just to help them try and take down this mid lane turret.
So this is what's a relatively quiet player in spring. Had that one Orianna shockwave, I think we all remember, where he called out 3 people and won the game for SK. But it's important to recall that it is only his rookie year, although not his rookie split, of course, with it being his second. And here against Caps is putting on a good showing so far. The rest of summer hasn't quite been to this level, but if this is a sign of things to come for the SK mid laner, I will be watching with bated breath.
Yeah, me too. And I mean, even just in the studio, surprising amount of cheers for SK today as well, which is not really something we usually get here as well, of course.
Yeah.
Very storied organization, got relegated in 2015.
That's a long time ago.
That is very long time ago, to a random team called Gamers 2 or something back then.
Gamers 2? What
yeah,
a bad name for a team.
Won the spring relegation, they got into it back in 2018, 2019. We then got the franchise, SK came back. They're now looking to solidify themselves again. Maybe not as one of the best teams, but at least a team that can still remain a threat, as we're currently seeing right now.
I mean, especially since if you look at them, if they lost this game and lost, say, both their games this weekend, they're at 1-8. And historically, you need 8 wins to make it into playoffs, or thereabouts. Like 7 is like the lowest we usually see. So they would have been needing to win every single game for the rest of the split. If they manage to pick up a win here, it's a sign of life. It's a sign of hope. I'm not going to say they're making it into playoffs off this single win. Obviously, it's best of 1. But it is definitely a heartening thing to see, especially if you're an SK fan. Jezu now going to farm up these Razor Beaks, has 2 items complete on this Draven. I wonder where he's 330 stacks on that adoration. His fans cheering his name, and he wants to cash in pretty soon.
Yeah, remember, of course, we had a little buff to Draven as well. The more adoration stacks, that adds on to an execute on your ultimate. So realistically speaking, SK as well, they could just wait. They could just try and get as many stacks onto Jezu as possible to set him up for success in a team fight. That's quite a bit of extra damage you're getting on that Draven ultimate there. And the big moment they're waiting for. You can see they slowed down the pace of the game just a little bit, but they're not looking for plays. They're looking for that Cloud Soul. They're looking to get that ultimate going for them where they just zoom as soon as they use them.
And G2 will be looking to fight against that tide that is coming forth. Caps now at 2 items. Rabadon's alongside the crown with only some cloth boots. Not often what we see on the Azir, but he really wants to try and maximize his damage output. Sertuss will be spotted here. Jankos is going to see that he is in that Baron pit, but with a minute on the clock, you can see now SK go back, reset their wards. Treatz going to step in with this Oracle's alteration, get a slightly deep ward towards where the Razorbeaks would be. Jankos is pushing out bot lane to make sure that they have prio down there. The rest of SK are pushing out mid lane to make sure they have prio out there. And because of that, Caps now has to answer to try and regain control of this middle lane.
My only concern is that a lot of the pink wards currently from SK is on the top side of the map instead. Those are extra pink wards you could have on the bottom side to try and gain control of the enemy jungle and not just of the enemy Drake pit. As you can see now, they're being punished for that.
Gilius
G2 allowed up.
Engage, they look for everything! The bear is down! Back to hibernation for Jankos, it seems, as SK find a pick. 20 seconds on the Cloud Soul. 30 seconds on Jankos means that this should be an easy secure for SK.
They're still looking around here. Jenax this time around, not on Vision.
Stolen now. BrokenBlade almost has the Mega. Don't really want to fight into that even in a 4v5, and SK will likely just wait out this Cloud Dragon spawn and claim the soul. Sertuss and Treatz have to be a little bit careful with their pathing here because BrokenBlade could try and push forward. Sertuss uses the Shuriken to dash away, and G2 now realizing they've lost the soul will work their way towards the top side. A little slower perhaps than they would have wanted. Not able to gain total vision control towards this red buff portion of the map.
I will say though, quote unquote, luckily, it is a Cloud Soul, but even then, it still has some potency on the champions of SK. The way it works with Sylas, for example, and I really love this, is that the extra movement speed comes out when you steal an ultimate, not when you use it afterwards. So if you steal Gnar ultimate, you gain extra movement speed. You can just run in there with the Gnar ultimate instead. That's quite nice. Of course, in the Akali as well, staying slippery, not too bad. But, you know, those slow resistance, maybe they'll matter a little bit into the Azir as well, but just general, they're not usually the stats you're looking for in a Cloud Drake, but they'll be happy about them nonetheless. It is a soul, giving a big advantage.
I mean, also it's a soul claimed against G2 as SK, right? Like, G2 of 4-3, just one
That's
screen.
quite an important context as well, yeah.
1-6, like, the ability to control a game this well is very encouraging for the SK lineup. Now they're going to try and control the Baron area of the map. Flakked. Oh, hook just short. Jankos there. Depth charge onto Flakked.
Here comes the movement speed.
The stun off towards the side. Treatz a bit of extra movement speed, but SK don't really want to chase any further. So what do we burn? Hex Flash on Treatz and the depth charge, but that's already a third of the way of cooldown. Nothing too much invested there from SK.
Treatz decided to go for a sprint, not a marathon in this crew iteration here, but still they retain that control of the Baron area. And it's so crazy. G2 now have objective bounties once again against SK. A little bit of worrying signs. 0-2 week, potentially down to an 0-3 week as well.
I think something that Kadra says often on when I would listen to his stream as I'm farming my cacks. He will often say every team has a moment where they falter in a split, and right now G2 are faltering a little bit, but they are able to find Jenax. Hook's gonna land on the Caps, keep his verdict stomping and starting away, and Jenax able to survive. Caps trying to put the last bit of damage down. The Whirling Death coming in as well as Sertuss has a good flank position here, but he's already exhausted. He's stunned up, he's shut down. Caps will fall as well. SK trying to retreat to the safety of their tower, but the Stormbringer makes it not safe anymore. The follow-up, Jenax does have a TP. BrokenBlade flashing forward, looking for a bit more damage on Treatz. Knocked back by Jezu. No TP burned by Jenax. 2 kills over to G2.
But that's a jungler there. That's the most threat member of SK dead as well. G2 could potentially look for a Baron here, and yes, they're moving towards it. SK, watch your move. You're 3 versus 4. Don't have ultimates just quite yet, but they're coming up shortly.
Jenax looks for the hijack here, steals away the Gnar. Doesn't have flash, but can dash across the wall. Jankos, no Stormbringer, no flash, no way to get away. The hook just short. Jankos trying to get back in to tank this up. Jenax looking for something with the Gnar. Jankos smites. Jankos just down. Jezu takes 1, Jezu takes 2. Is it a double? Is it a triple? Make it 3. Jezu cashes in, and Jenax is not done. Targamas has to flash away and dash away and try and escape, but now the Baron turned back on by SK. Caps keep being in. Jezu, I think he's not keeping the Baron aggroed. Caps might look for a little bit of something across the wall here. Jenax going back forward, the hook, the Hex Flash. Caps down, 4 in a row for Jezu as he lines them up and knocks them down. SK turn their eyes towards the Baron.
And just like that, the extra caption as well. You can even see the gold lead afterwards. They'll pick up Baron. Probably end up around the 5k, or 50k rather. 5k wouldn't be too much. But let's have a look at how it all pans out again, because G2 They are the aggressors. Targamas kind of doesn't come with them here, but they find a good pickup, and they find a moment where a lot of things actually goes wrong for SK. They don't knock Caps away. They don't find the pickup on towards him immediately. Sertuss as well. He's going to be TPing in. When he TPs in, he doesn't quite find the mark. He gets hit by a bubble immediately and just taken down with no chance of responding.
Sertuss actually TP'd back, and then Jankos was knocked back to where Sertuss was, meaning that Jankos, who has the only hard CC of the 3 players that were beating up Sertuss, was able to take him out. We'll have a look at this, because Jankos stays within the pit. He tries to smite the health, but Jezu is just so strong on this Draven.
And it's just about finding that execute. You see the crit again and again just there. Flakked's already dead. You are having no way of surviving. Triple kill coming through. Genax looking for more, and yeah, we know how it goes.
The TP in by Camps wasn't enough, and SK now, Elder Drake up in a minute and a half, 2 minutes on the Baron in such a strong position. Going back to your point about G2, it is worrying signs, but also every team has a falter. Every team has a slip in the regular season, and that's the time to do it. Try and reset yourself towards playoffs. I think the expectation that G2 is making it to playoffs is still one that is very valid, and should be our general thought about this team, even if they do have a few mistakes here and there. It has been a bad 3 games for them, though, so we will need to see them buck things up.
But for now, SK, though, looking to lose that lost streak of themselves. They're playing on 2 lanes. They got waves coming in through the bottom lane. Not fully synced up with the mid lane just yet. 2 cannon waves down to the bottom side. No, the lack of synced minion wave is going to mean that the tempo gets stopped a little bit, and that allows G2 to clear up the waves, slowing down a potential end a little bit, but I don't think SK cares too much about what's happening right now. What they're looking forward to is that 1 minute counter. You see in your left top screen here is, of course, the Elder Dragon medic.
And you can see they've just got total control of this area. Before that, Treatz also resetting where the rest of his team stays out so he can have a full complement of wards. Places a couple around just to make sure that they know exactly where Caps and G2 will be.
And this time around, Vision, way better. You can see the aggressive pink wards. There's something to fight for. The best setup around a Drake when you're ahead is not set up around the Drake. It's set up in the enemy jungle, so they can never step up. Because they can never step up, you get an objective for 3. And that's exactly what SK is looking for.
Sertuss has TP in 6 seconds here. Might look to save it. Goes back. It'll probably be Alexa into TP in instead. Could go to one of the control wards. Does, so that TP can be spotted by G2. See that on the minimap. He joins up with his team, though. G2 trying to make a work through the bottom lane here. Jankos chunk just a little bit. Treatz still looking for an engage. Cap's going to step forward. Sundis down. Bot lane prio now for G2 as they push forward. Genax looking for a bit of damage. Jankos going to eat a couple of chains to his face. Jezu can start up the Elder. Both the far side alterations popped in the Elder pit. Jankos low. Everfrost Stormbringer used. That's huge. Whirling Death coming out as well, and Jankos will dodge to the side of that, but he's got no health. He's got no way of getting into the fight. No flash on him either. SK continue to control this area of the map.
SK just needs to keep the Elder Dragon aggro. They just need to force G2 forwards. They need to force their hands, and there they come. No.
Dodge away from the flash hook. Tidal wave coming in. Treatz needs to get away from this. Off towards the backside. Knocked into the wall is Gilius into the back of the pit. Sertuss going in for the great Gnar. G2! What a fight from G2! The Gnar knocks back Sertuss. Genax able to escape. Jezu trying to re-engage, but no whirling death on him. Caps is down. SK have lost 2 as well. Flakked low. Reset coming out from BrokenBlade. He has the TP to rejoin this fight. Jankos, his ultimate about half the way off its cooldown. Does have the flash now as well. Elder restarted by SK. Genax has the TP to rejoin his team. He can do that in a moment. He's going to TP to the mid wave. G2 start up the Elder once again.
It's the exact same scenario before. 3 versus 4. Jezu's still alive. We saw the amount of damage he was able to dish out earlier. He needs to repeat it.
Genax going in. Whose ult you're going to steal? BrokenBlade has to be the one you feel. Don't take away that Gnar. G2 disengage. Elder stop Caps, 12 seconds on him, has the TP once again, so it will be a 5v3 for a couple of moments because there's no TPs on the side of SK. Gilius sprinting his little legs all the way towards this, but he's going to be a little while before he can get there. However, the health bars are on the side of SK.
Here's the problem. Caps does have teleport, but Sertuss doesn't, so despite him being respawned now, he's still not here in time, and I wonder, G2, can they use this window? For now, it's looking like no, and they're getting lower and lower. Flakked down to half HP, but G2, they're still looking.
X-Flash. Gilius going in. Caps tanking it. Treatz looking for the long way around, the longest flank you've ever found. Jankos, no Stormbringer on him. Treatz going to get locked up and just taken down immediately. Tidal wave as well, but Sertuss gets onto the back line. Onto Flakked. That's exactly what he needed. Perfect execution. It's a 1-1 trade so far. Sertuss has the ability to go further, but they decide against it. Emperor's Device still available for Caps. Stormbringer now back up for Jankos. SK, you're going to do this dance again. It's a merry-go-round as we all just dance around. Ring around Rosie's, it feels. Sertuss misses the shuriken, BrokenBlade into the mini Gnar form. G2 once again step into the jaws of death, into the darkness, but they can't find the engage they're looking for. The soldier in the pit might be enough. Caps has stolen an Elder before Jankos has the Stormbringer goes in. The reset happens though, and then an inopportune moment for Jankos. The reset, Caps slides, Caps glides, Caps dies. The Elder taken by SK. Jankos, Caps, and Flakked dead.
And what seemed like an Elder Drake fight that went on forever, it's finally done here. 3 members dead of G2, Flakked respawning in just 1 second. But surely this is where SK, they're looking to be aggressive and they're looking to take down some inhibitors.
We'll see if they can win the game off this. It might be tight. Abduct lands the Gnar into the wall, but Flakked able to get away ever for short. Whirling Death wide as well. The Cullen coming back out as Flakked just tries to chip away at Gilius. First inhibitor tower down, Baron up in 18 seconds time. SK might even leave the inhib up and just say, okay, they can't fight the Baron if we have the Elder.
I can feel the nerves of the SK players just watching what's happening right now. It's sloppy, it's not clean, but they're making it work so far. A team fight composition, when you're struggling a little bit as a team, is always what you need to rely on. Now Baron might potentially be started off. I'm not sure if I want to see this right now, but replay this.
So Treatz looks for the flank, can't quite find it, but Sertuss gets onto the back line.
They're just able to continue with it. In the picture-in-picture, you can actually see it. SK, they pick up the Baron. Now sitting with an Elder Drake and Baron buff. Going back to the Elder Drake fight that started all of this. They posture back on towards it immediately. Caps in a position where you said, of course, could look for that Empress Divide. Gilius as well, charging up the ultimate, looking for Jankos. Whiffs it. Jankos jumps in way too early, and they're able to pick him up. After that, Caps sees the hero play. 4-man Empress Divide, but what's an Emperor to a god?
Very true. Yeah. Very true. We'll see if G2 are non-believers as we get past the 34-minute mark. Baron still up on SK for another 2 minutes. Elder Drake, I believe, has timed out pretty soon. Whirling Death coming in, that's 1. Gilius takes the first. Looking for more as Flakked's forced back. The Elder Drake actually still got a quarter of its cooldown to go. Because of that, SK able to find a pick. Now they look towards more. The inhibitor in the mid lane will fall. Who's up? Caps, Flakked, Jankos, and BrokenBlade against the world, against SK with an Elder. The Stormbringer starting away, both the Nexus Towers disabled. Sertuss goes in, pops the stopwatch. This Nexus Towers need to die before they come back online. Sertuss exhausted, Sertuss down. But SK, with the Nexus in their eyes, with a win in their eyes, take down our spring champions.
We had 2 upsets, now make it 3. SK beating G2, ending their own loss streak, looking to potentially build a winning streak, but that's a story for tomorrow. But for today, SK shall be praised, and deservedly so.
Oh, deservedly so, yeah, exactly. They had such a strong early game, mid game, and yes, there were some nerves. You could tell there was some anxious team fighting, but they were still able to find the fights. They were able to find consistency around the souls. And no matter what G2 did, SK stood strong and were able to secure their 2nd win of summer. G2 now 3 losses in a row. Not the best look for them. Of course, we talked a little bit about in the game, 3 losses in a row isn't the end of the world. Like, you can bounce back from that pretty easily. We still expect them to make it to playoffs, but we do want to see some improvement from some of these early game woes.
I really want the wins the last time they've gone 0-3, but of course, SK once again, they're the heroes of today. They are the ones who showed up, and with Jezu back on the roster as well, of course, he had a little bit more of a break than others, but on the Draven, you said it, that was his first professional Draven game ever. We might be looking on towards the 2nd with the way he piloted that one today.
Yeah, had a very strong performance. That's it, everyone on SK. Your key player of the game votes at LEC on Twitter. Gilius, Sertuss, and Jezu, all your options.
It's a tough one to call between Jezu and Sertuss, in my opinion. I feel like Sertuss showed up. He had agency.
The solo kill, man.
He had agency in the champion, and he delivered on it. Quite often, we sometimes see people, picking Akali, especially on struggling teams, thinking that they're going to go for a highlight play, they're going to be the difference maker, and it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
But this time around with Sertuss, that just wasn't the story, and picking up that first spot himself, phenomenal. I mean, against Caps as well, they're just putting it into context.
Yeah.
That is great stuff to see from the SK mid laner.
Yeah, really good stuff to see from SK all round. I can see sparkly man, Austin Powers himself, standing in the middle of the stage with
Looks
Jezu.
like my Christmas tree.
Looks like we're pretty ready to hand it over to you. Oh, over to you, Austin Powers. Take it away.
There are so many lines from that movie I just cannot say or I'll get fired. Congratulations, Jezu.
Thank you.
First time Draven, back on stage after a couple of weeks. How does it feel, especially after coming back from being unwell?
It feels really good. I think all the teams smurfed, and I'm really happy to play the Draven as well.
Tell me why it seemed very one-sided. From the early game, Sertuss popping off for the solo kills, then moving around the map. Was that from the game plan, or was that just punishing mistakes from G2?
I think it's kind of the flow of the game, just Sertuss outplay, and then him getting a mid advantage like this early gives us a lot on the map, and I don't know, it just snowballed.
How did it feel watching from home? SK Gaming lost 6 games in a row, beating BDS on day 1, and now 7 games later, beating G2, and you were watching from home. How difficult was that?
Honestly, it's not really difficult because I can't do much about it. The game is going, and I didn't feel bad that we are 1-6. I actually feel now we're in comfort zone, We have nothing to lose. We play for fun, and we're enjoying the ride,
In the comfort zone as the underdogs. If we zoom out and we look at the league as a whole, today, 3 of the 4 games have been upset victories, with Mad Lions being the only team that was sort of favored to winning. What is in the water? Is it the break week? What did you guys do with it? Why have we seen so many surprises?
I don't really know. The meta is really interesting, I feel like. I really like the Sylas pick. It brings a lot of fighting. And we've been pretty good at fighting this week. Scrims were going well as well. And I don't know.
I have one last question for you. Will we see more Draven?
I really hope so, yeah.
That's what I like to hear. Congratulations again on the win. Thank you very much, Berlin. We're going to an ad break, and when we come back, hopefully Sertuss joins us on the analyst desk for a preview of the next game. GG.
Even the biggest champ needs a break.
And some Kit Kat for you, and some Kit Kat for Elder, and some... No Kit Kat for that.
Maybe the start of their season wasn't as perfect as they would have wanted, but now they are getting going.
I kind of took my team hostage and told them that I want to play Zach.
Odo, he sniffs something good in the mid lane. He gets a double knock up there as well.
It comes down to that experience. Vitality saw that window, that small pocket where Astralis had left something open, and Vitality were very quick to punish them.
Does finally fall. They are off to the side. Perkz preparing for that kill. Visitachi going for the knockup, but it's a perfect stopwatch to buy a bit more.
I think we need time to play together and time to play on stage together and find our way to play the game as a team. That's all.
Buy a bit more time, and no, he gets interrupted. He can't knock out Perkz. Perkz now running, still standing. Absolute out execution from the side of